I'd like to call to order the September 9th study session of Sumner County Board of Education. If you'd stand with me, we'll have a moment of silence. You can join with me if you like, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think Mr. Chairman Daniels is on his way. Traffic was a mess. If he was on Gallatin Road, it was a mess. So the first item on our agenda tonight is the Student Health Services presentation. So Ms. Lisa Heron, you have the floor, and your nurses.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for having us and giving us a little time. We're going to try to be mindful and respectful of our time. We'll be glad to take questions at the end. I want to give you guys a quick introduction. For some of you guys, it's just a reintroduction to health services. Most people assume health services is just nursing, and it's actually not the case. Health services has a huge amount of nurses involved, but there's a lot under the umbrella. So we have several programs and different departments that fall under health services. We have former principals that are in health services. We have counselors, teachers, we have a Belmont nursing school professor, and a myriad of experienced nurses also in health services. We deal with really sensitive information and sensitive situations, and it makes it really hard for us to feel like we can do justice to a presentation because there's so little we can actually share. And we're incredibly respectful of that, but also want to try to find a way to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what these departments do, without sharing too much, which we can't do. So, these teams, and I could get emotional talking about them, these guys show up every single day for these students. They show up for the students, and they are some of the most bought into the mission people that I have ever worked with. And I would say that about a lot of people that I work alongside here, but this team, incredibly bought into the mission, always looking for ways to grow. We're always tweaking and changing our processes and our procedures to serve our students better. That's really important to us. As you guys know, medicine changes, and so does school rules and school procedures and policies change. So we're kind of ever evolving, which I think really we all should be. I am going to turn it over to Brandy, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell you a little bit about what she does and her team, and then we'll go from there. Thank y'all.
Hi everybody, I'm Brandy Ubelhart. I'm the 504 and Homebound Supervisor for Sumner County Schools. Thank you, Lisa, for that wonderful piece there, a good setup. So I'm just gonna dive right in. Like she said, feel free for questions at the end, write them down, remember them, whatever you need to do for that. So I'm gonna start with Homebound. I have 4 wonderful homebound teachers. That is Angel Oldham, Ty Hughes, Ricky Carricker, and Brittany Mallory. Just want to say thank you. There's a couple of them here tonight to support our homebound department. So I just want to say thank you to them and all of their dedication. I'm going to touch on 3 things with homebound tonight. I'm going to touch on what medical homebound is. I'm going to talk about our recharge and our referral process and how we collaborate with other departments and with our community partners. So what is medical homebound? So medical homebound is a temporary service and placement that's designed for students who need to miss 10 or more days of school because of a medical necessity, an intervention per se, for a medical need. Okay, so they're going to be out for 10 or more days. They must be certified by a treating physician. And I want to know that the homebound instruction is 3+ hours a week of that direct instruction from a certified teacher. So the reason we really look at that from a temporary standpoint is we want to serve those students who are in those situations, but we want to get them back to their school as soon as we possibly can so that they can be back in their classroom with their peers getting that instruction from their teachers. So while our teachers are phenomenal, we really try our best to get them back as soon as possible so they are back with their peers. So our current students that are supported, we're looking at around between 21's on there. This was done a couple of days ago, so likely we're probably reaching about 23 students at this point being served in our with our homebound supports. And the reasons could be cancer, surgeries, pregnancies, a lot of different medical reasons why students would need to miss those school days that we're currently supporting. I did mention my 4 homebound teachers, and we also utilize some part-time homebound teachers, and those are certified teachers within our district who give their time to help support students in their building that might need medical homebound as well. So I'm very appreciative for them stepping out and doing that extra duty. It's really wonderful. Looking at the data from 24-25, we had right at 61 general education students served through homebound and roughly 35 students with active IEPs for a number of reasons. Same thing, cancers, surgeries, severe medical needs. And so with those referrals, I want to talk about first the recharge of our referral process. So I've only been in this position, this is year 3, and one thing I noticed in coming in was there was a little bit of lapse in time between request made by a parent or by a school and then the implementation of the services. So we really wanted to try to bridge that gap by streamlining that referral process. And what that referral process looks like currently is the referral packet, the release of information, and the referral information that the parents fill out is housed with that school nurse. They can discuss this referral request with an administrator, with the school counselor, with the school nurse, but that's where it is currently housed, is with the school nurse. And what happens is the parent shows their concern or their need, they fill out that information, and what we've created is a direct line to send that directly back to us at our homebound email, and or that school nurse can send it directly to us as well. What happens once we receive that as homebound is we review that as a review team, and I'll touch on that in just a second, but we take a look at what those pieces look like, and we collaborate with a lot of different departments to make sure that we are best supporting those students who have requested homebound. Once a decision's been made for placement and duration, then the homebound team reaches out to the parent and shares, hey, this is the decision we've come to, and we really want to make sure that everyone is on the same page, and helping streamline that referral process, that beginning process, has really seemed to help get our students serviced quicker and in a more efficient manner. As far as our review team goes, this is something newer that I've implemented. And so with this, we want to make sure that we're making the right decisions by the students, and that's collaborating with the outside agencies, collaborating with the school, and using our team to make good decisions. So on that review team is myself as the supervisor. We have a nursing supervisor for medical information. We have a gen ed teacher, a special ed teacher, and a representation from instruction, so that we can make sure that what we're teaching those children and our students during those 3 hours is what needs to be taught. And so that is very helpful for us to be able to see that we are making sure we're making that specific need for that student, and that we're doing the right thing by them. So with that review team collaboration, it really leads me right into that next slide. Partnerships. When it comes to medical homebound, at times it can feel as though we're a silo, but that is far from the truth. In order for us to work effectively and work well, we have to have collaboration with all of these partners that are listed right here. Our SPED teams help us support appropriately by extending information from students' IEPs and helping us work through and making sure that we're providing those supports appropriately. Attendance helps us code students correctly. Nursing helps us continue that care upon their return. Our school teams are huge in this, because students transitioning back from whatever that reason for homebound was can be very difficult sometimes, and so that collaboration with our school team is very vital. And partnering with our medical and mental health agencies helps us establish a continuity of care for our students, because they're seeing them outside of school and we're seeing them in school. And so by joining forces with them, it really shines a light, and it really helps support our students in the best way. So when we're talking about core values for Sumner County Schools, I feel as though my homebound team And I take pride in them. So sorry that I say my, but they are mine. I love them so much. But I do feel like our Homebound team, even though we strive daily to embody all core values, I feel it really important to hone in on that humility piece. So it's an honor to walk alongside families and support them during difficult times. And I just wanted to do a quick share here. And this is sweet JJ. This is my Homebound teacher, Angel. And I want to share this. Number one, JJ's famous. He is the sweetest little boy ever. But what's really neat is once you become a Homebound student for whatever duration that might be, for us as Homebound, you are not just a Sumner County School student, you are our family. We go into your homes, we're educating you in your home, and they're gonna give you pie, parents are gonna make you coffee, like it truly is a family. And I just wanted to share this picture because this really exhibits what family means to us as Homebound. Angel was JJ's teacher in pre-K when he was in school. And then years later, she's now been given the wonderful opportunity to continue to serve him through Homebound. And so it's just a beautiful picture of what family means to us through Homebound. I'm going to switch gears on you. I know that was a lot of words in a little amount of time. You're welcome. But I'm going to switch gears on you. Love my Homebound team, but I also love my Section 504 team. And so I want to share with you a little bit about my Section 504 team. So up here pictured and in the audience, Lynette Devitt and Lynn Martin, they are the specialist and facilitator for Section 504 up here with me at Central Office. They are the backbone of what I do daily. They keep me in check, and they also are in our schools daily and help supporting, and I'm going to get to that in a second. A couple of things I'm going to run through with 504. We're going to talk a little bit about Sumner County school-specific data. We're going to talk about the growth and supports that we have implemented, and then we're going to talk about some collaboration with Section 504. All right, a little bit about 504. I'm not going to give you a deep dive or anything like that, but first and foremost, what is Section 504? Federal civil rights law that prohibits discrimination based upon disability in any program or activity that receives federal funding. So here we are. And we are supporting roughly around 1,900 students with active 504 plans for impairments anywhere from ranging from anxiety, ADHD, GI issues, you name it. There's a whole gamut of the reasons that we are supporting students via Section 504. And so what I think it's really important to highlight here is, and it's a very proud moment and an appreciative moment, is that we are able to have a designated Section 504 designee in each building currently. And that is wonderful news. And these are people who might be the school counselor, might be the librarian, might be a teacher, might be an administrator. There's a bunch of different, it really is school specific to their needs and to whom fits the bill to have that duty as Section 504 designee. So I do think it's wonderful to note that we do have a representative in each building on top of us up here able to help support as well. When we're talking about compliance with Section 504, I think it's very important that we are consistently making sure that we are in compliance. And we're looking at not just are our plans in date, right? Plan is due, did we meet that deadline? Do we have a big red stop sign, or is our 5 green? I won't get into that, you don't want to know anything about that, okay? But it really is important to us to look a little bit deeper. So are we checking all of the boxes? Are our plans appropriate for the student? Are our plans, are they claimed appropriately throughout all avenues in Skyward and T and Pulse? We're checking a lot of boxes when it comes to compliance. So one number that we looked at is looking at our plates in date, and that's where that 96 to 99% comes into play, and I think that's a really great number. We're on pretty solid around 97 to 98 right now, which with school just starting feels really good. So that tells me that our designees are on top of things, our admin are making sure that students are getting what they need, and we're following through with what we're saying we're doing. So that number feels really, really good. So let's talk about how do we keep those compliance rates up? How do we do that? So we're going to look at growth and supports. First and foremost, those supports. A few ways that we continue these supports through Sumner County Schools is we have that specialist and facilitator space, which is what Lynette and Lynn Howes for us. They're wonderful. We do LEA meetings. The two of them go into meetings and help cover for administrators if they can't LEA a meeting. We provide knowledge and resources to all stakeholders, not just the school side, but to anyone that has questions we're willing to answer, and we're going to answer with integrity and honesty, which we take pride in. We provide consistent coaching and feedback for items such as process and procedure, meeting structures, organization of files, etc. And one thing that we've done as a team is we've created a 504 playbook for resources that all of our designees have access to in paper form and in digital form. So whenever they have questions, they have things to refer back to. So with that, what's the output of these resources? Like, you can have a ton of resources, but what are we gaining from these resources? So something that we're gaining as far as the LEA support goes is we're giving administrators back time in their buildings to support as well. When we can step in as the LEA in a meeting, it might take a principal who doesn't have an AP, it might give them a chance to finally go get an observation done. It may give them a chance to go and see a student for a reward. So it's really helpful. So when these positions were created, we took data, specific data for 3 months to see, is this working? What are we doing here? Are we even being helpful? And we were able to give back almost 3 full days, hours-wise, to our principals. And I thought that was very valuable information to share, because that number is only growing. And with their support and guidance in schools, we're not only able to help support with resources, but to give back that time. So we appreciate that opportunity. Let's see, what else? We give guidance to all stakeholders, but it also allows for clear and consistent process and procedures across all Sumner County schools. So the fact that we have a playbook, that playbook is in every elementary school as well as high school. So from the beginning to the very end, the goal is that the same processes and procedures are happening over time with Section 504, and I think that's very important. Some training opportunities. We've trained all school nurses. All designees get a training yearly. Any new designee gets a specific deep dive into coaching. One of the things that we're piloting right now is a Lunch and Learn LEA training. So we are taking the training on the road. We don't use the bus. They won't let me drive that bus. Makes me a little sad, but that's okay. We'll get there one day. But we're taking the training to the school. So that way, if one school has a couple of people who need LEA training, the school next door, we invite them in as well. So that way they are still at their schools for the needs if that arises. But we're setting aside that time to make sure they get trained well. So instead of them taking a half day to come to me, we're just taking it to them. And so far it's working really well, and people are very receptive. So we're hoping that that keeps moving. And then every year in every single building, every designee does a faculty training. So I feel like we're doing a really good job in that. And again, what are we getting? We're getting vertical alignment and communication of supports, increases in a knowledge base for overall plan creation and implementation. And a main thing to note in these supports is it encourages continuity of supports for students, and it streamlines our supports. And we could not streamline these without partnerships, right? There's those partnerships again. So with 504, it doesn't look much different than Homebound. We partner to ensure that students are appropriately supported. The connection and collaboration between all departments is crucial, whether that be from the classroom teacher to school nursing to school nutrition to bus drivers. Our kids need supports in a lot of different areas, and so 504 collaborating with all departments is vastly important. One of the things that we're doing right now is we have connected with Ball State as a community partner. We want to help our seniors learn how to access their accommodations, and so we've met with the Access Center at Ball State along with students who are going to Ball State and helping them bridge that gap of, I need something, but where do I go and what do I do? And so we're able to have that community partnership, and we really appreciate that partnership. So looking at Section 504, absolutely across the board, we are all things here, but really I want to touch on quickly that growth mindset. We are facing, along with our families, facing some newer, difficult challenges that are setting themselves up and presenting themselves to us, and we're really having to think logically through some situations, maybe differently than we have before. And so we really pride ourselves on listening, active listening, and really trying to figure out what best supports that student and what that looks like. So in closing, I'd like to share a testimonial for you, so hear me out. This is not to pat ourselves on the back and say, look what we did, look what we did. This is a thank you for your continued support in both of these departments, 504 specifically. So with having the two new, the facilitator and the specialist, we've been able to get in and really hand over hand and side by side help our designees and our principals learn these processes and walk them out with them. So I really just wanted to share a testimonial that came from a school personnel, just so you can see exactly what your efforts and your supports mean. So I want to express my sincere gratitude for the leadership of our county 504 team. Throughout the year, I've consistently experienced support that is responsive, fair, and grounded in integrity. The team leads with a caring heart, actively listens, and communicates directly and respectfully, which builds trust and clarity in all situations. Their ability to solve problems, collaborate as a team, and bring innovative ideas to the table has made a meaningful difference in how we as a school support our students. I'm truly thankful for the leadership and the example they set for all of us. I have grown tremendously as an educator and a leader by their supports. Thank you again to Lisa Heron, Dr. Langford, and the board for all your support for both 504 and Homebound departments. Your efforts and support have allowed our students and even our staff in this situation the opportunity to grow each and every day. So, thank you.
Question.
Yes, Mr. King.
I have a question. Maybe I missed this, but so a homebound student, are they on a 504 plan automatically, or is that a separate?
It is separate.
Okay.
It's separate, yeah. It could definitely trigger a child fund obligation 100%, but if they are, some come with 504 plans, some don't. Some we request 504 evaluation when they return, or maybe while they're on homebound, but it doesn't automatically come with it.
Yeah, and then are some homebound students, are they still coming to some events or some programs at the school, or are they just 100% homebound?
So they should be bound to the home, right?
Okay.
They should be bound to the home. However, as I discussed earlier, with new challenges and new things coming about, sometimes we have to be innovative and creative. And at the end of the day, in our guidelines, it does state that it is upon supervisor and administrator approval. It is very unlikely we're going to approve that.
Okay. What would be, I guess, a circumstance that it would not be approved? Like if a homebound student wanted to come to, well, I guess, can they come to sporting events, or are they like, you know?
If the parent's coming with them, I can't stop them from
Okay.
that, from an after-school activity.
Okay, after school, but in school activity, what would be something that, I mean, well, I guess I'm asking is there any situation where they would be permitted to come?
If the student is given a terminal illness diagnosis and they want to attend something, I could see that being a consideration. I can't say yes because it's a team decision, but I could see that if there's a really big issue going on, we might consider something of that nature.
All right, I was just curious.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the questions.
Ms. Brennick?
I will just say that either through my kids or my friends' kids, we've seen Homebound and 504 in action, and your team is excellent. I was curious, how is compliance measured, and what does compliance mean when you're talking about 504? Is it adherence to the plan? Is it adherence to executing the plans? What is
Both. I'll answer both two sides of that. So when in the program that we use, it's called T Pulse. There is a compliance for date. So let's say the plan is due on September the 1st. If it becomes September the 2nd and we haven't had that annual review, it's going to become a red stop sign, hence out of compliance. So that's one way that we track. It actually lets us know when we're at the 30-day mark, you're coming up close. And then whenever you pass that year mark, it's going to let you know, hey, you didn't get this meeting completed. Another thing that we look at too is the T and Pulse part should tell a story of the student. The hard copy file should tell a story of the student. So we want to make sure what we're doing is we're walking in and looking at, did we get the consent for eval? Did we follow our process and procedure to meet compliance? And then another way that we can look at that is even The principal, the LEA at the bottom of the plan, states who is in charge of implementing, making sure that it's implemented, like holding people to that, and that's the LEA of the building. So that's another form of a compliance check, is they're checking in, are we following the plan as it is written?
Does that third part get tracked as part of compliance? So if a parent says to the LEA, hey, this was supposed to happen and it didn't, that gets reported?
Yes. So that's either reported to, likely it's reported to me, and we work through what happened. Was it that the plan was not written well enough to understand? Was it that the teacher just denied the support? We really try to dig in to see what happened there, what pitfall, what barrier came up to where that plan was not followed.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Lancaster?
So my question is, like, for parents, I've sat through some 504s for my kids, and what do we have for a parent, like, say your kid's going to kindergarten for the first time, first grade, whatever, and this comes up, hey, we're going to have a 504 meeting. What is available, or what do y'all offer for parents? Because you go in that meeting, and if you've never done it, you're unprepared. You don't know. I mean, I didn't know what was going on to a certain extent, and that could be just, personal. Didn't know what was going on, but what are we offering as far as, like, training or instruction level, or almost like here's a, for lack of a better term, a dummy's guide to a 504 meeting.
Sure.
Do we have something like that, or is there a video or anything that is there something there that we can enhance or better for the future, or even like do we offer workshops for parents for this? And this kind of would go with IEPs or 504s, but I know those are separate things, but also kind of piggyback off one another.
Well, first of all, you are not alone. Do not feel that you are alone. This happens quite often, especially with our young ones, for first-time parents who have never experienced this before. So we allot, when we get a referral or we get a question in a school regarding Section 504, our designee has 10 days to reach out to the parent to answer all of those questions. So typically that's when, tell me what your request is, tell me what you're needing, what your student needs, and let's walk this out together. Let's walk this process out together. Is that conversation perfect, and does it always happen to come across with the best information possible? Maybe not. However, with the trainings that we're discussing and that we're talking through, and as we continue to move forward with these, we will definitely keep that in the back of our minds. I can absolutely see a benefit to some form of video. We have definitely talked about doing those for our designees as well as parents, just an impromptu Q&A, if you will, or an FAQ sheet. So we have our guidelines for Section 504 at registration night. Parents can receive a guidelines. It's a front and a back that really gives you a snapshot of what 504 is with the designee's information on the bottom. And so that's another form where parents could get information and then the contact of who they need to reach out to. But I love the idea of getting them a little bit more involved on the front end with the process.
Real quick on a follow-up. So I heard you say partner with Ball State because students are going to go. So this is, again, probably maybe a dumb question, but that never stopped me from asking one. How long does that 504, does it go throughout college with the student? Or is that what you were talking about?
So as they are students with us, with Sumner County Schools, their 504 is good for us. Once they graduate, they are now the owner of themselves and the owner of their plan. There's a pretty big breakdown in what to do next. And so what we've done is partnered with Ball State, and they go to what's called the Access Center at Ball State, and they apply for these accommodations. And the Access Center requires them medical documentation, things of that nature that we might not have had in 504, but we help them gain that confidence of what to do next. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get all of those accommodations, but we are trying our best to support our seniors in their future endeavors, and that's just one community partner that we've connected with because we've got a lot of kiddos going there. Did that answer that?
Yeah, I think so. And that,
Okay.
that kind of would piggyback off what I said earlier, just giving students and parents
Yep.
that knowledge, like, hey, just because you're leaving high school, you still can here's how you advocate for yourself
Yep.
in whatever is available to you at the next level, because kids might be going to college and not even realize they could get something, some.
Yeah, and we could do a senior transition form, so it has all of these resources on it, and it gives some immediate links
Yeah.
to some FAQs from different universities. And we've talked as a team about going and visiting some of these closer, looking at Western, looking at Tech, looking at and visiting, so that we can pretend like we're experiencing that live, so we can come back and share that with our students.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes, just a quick question, going back to the homebound, and I apologize if you said this, but from the time that you get the request, what's average? I know it could be different based on each student, but what's an average time that a parent could expect for services to begin?
So once we receive that paperwork, we then reach out to the physician. So on average, we're seeing a turnaround of starting up supports within 4 to 5 days.
Okay.
Now, when I say 4 to 5 days, like we may get it on a Wednesday and we may be pushing a 6th because we've hit a weekend, or maybe an
Correct.
office is closed. The biggest barrier that we see with getting these kids moving and grooving right now is that response back from the physician's office. And even though we call every day and some say, please stop, we're like, but we've got to serve our kids, we're really trying here. But because we've streamlined that process to go directly through that school nurse and it comes directly to us, we have dwindled that down to what I feel like is a really reasonable amount of time. And there are going to be some one-offs where it does take a longer period of time. Maybe we're having to reach out to multiple physicians, or maybe there's new information that we find out when we're talking to the physicians and it takes a little longer. But I would say on average, I think that's pretty accurate.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I know we've got some additional presentations, so there may be some more questions. So we'll go ahead, and while we've got the next speaker walking up, apologies for being late, and bless anyone that deals with Long Hollow and veterans every day. And in case you're wondering why Dr. Langford's seat is empty, his daughter had a baby about 5 hours ago, so he's with her. So anyway, thank you guys for bearing with me for being late, and for Dr. Langford so he could be with family. And go ahead and pass it off to you.
All right. Good evening. My name is Kayla Alexander, and I am the Health Services Education Supervisor and also the Coordinated School Health Supervisor. I want to introduce my team, Meredith Melvin and Terry Herder. They're in the audience. They are our co-coordinators of Coordinated School Health. I'm going to talk about that, and then I'll be back up here to talk about the Health Services Education after our nursing presentation. Coordinated School Health is a statewide program that's offered through the Department of Education, the State Department of Education, and it encompasses 8 different components that focus on the health and well-being of students. I'm going to talk about kind of 3 of our projects or 3 of our initiatives that we are focusing on in our district, but just know it encompasses many, many, many different things that we're working on. So one of the first things that I want to touch on is our health screenings, specifically our vision referral process. Our Coordinated School Health Department conducts health screenings, typically vision and hearing for our first grade students, 5th graders, and high school wellness. Our first graders also get color vision as well. And any administrator, teacher, counselor, anybody in the school that has a concern for a student that's not in those grades, all they have to do is reach out to our co-coordinators, and we'll be glad to go in and screen them if they're suspecting a vision or a hearing problem may be affecting their learning. Okay. So last year we screened over 5,700 students in hearing, vision, and color vision. We're pretty proud of that number. They're a team of 2. They work with many different partners, and I'll touch on those in just a little bit when we talk about collaboration. But when documenting those vision screening failures, we were noticing that several students were failing kind of year after year when they were screened. They failed in 1st grade, failed in 5th grade, and still didn't report wearing glasses or contact lenses or any type of eye care therapy. So we looked at our processes and decided that we wanted to change those and make sure that we are closing that loop by not just notifying families that their child failed their vision screening. We want to make sure they got that notification and try to track what happened and see if they were able to get into an eye care provider and if they needed glasses or contacts or some type of therapy. So we partnered with each of our school nurses in our buildings to implement a follow-up process. Our CSH coordinators were able to send the initial screening results through Skyward to whichever parent or guardian was listed as that primary contact. And then a few weeks later, our school nurse followed up via email, through their own Sumner County School email, or through a phone call. This one-on-one communication allowed us to kind of personalize that conversation with our families to kind of open up. Do you have access to an eye care provider? Do you need financial resources? Do you have vision insurance? And through that, we were able to kind of collaborate with community partners and other Sumner County groups, or school groups, to get resources to those that needed them. So of the 843 students that failed their vision screening last year, we had 100% closed the loop on that referral process with our nurses contacting those families and making sure they received that notification. And we learned that 142 students received either new glasses, a new contact lens prescription, or received some type of eye care therapy intervention due to those referrals. So we're pretty proud of that. So just to give you an idea, these are two stories, but definitely two of many. We had one mother reach out to Meredith that her son needed glasses and they had no idea. I can say I'm also one of those whose daughter failed their vision screening at school and didn't know. But this person's son failed their vision screening, and so she took him to the eye doctor, and he really needed glasses. His prescription was pretty significant. So that they were able to get those. He's able to now see in class. And then we had another school nurse who was active in her school community out at a ball game, saw a student whose glasses were literally falling apart. And so she followed up with that parent the next day, and the parent expressed some concerns about being able to afford a new pair of glasses. So through working with Coordinated School Health and some other departments in Sumner County Schools and a community eye doctor, we were able to get all 5 of their children in for an eye exam, and 4 out of the 5 received eyeglasses or contact lenses because of that. So those are just 2 of the many instances that Coordinated School Health screenings have worked and kind of identified students at risk for a vision problem. And so we are just pretty proud of changing those processes. We're looking at our hearing processes for this year and making some changes to that as well. Okay, next is our activity bus. I'm sure you saw it when you walked in. It is very bright and colorful, but our activity bus was a project that we worked on last year and implemented. The goal of it was to increase access to physical activity or PE equipment for our schools and our PE teachers. So this was a huge goal of ours, to equip it with equipment that they may not have at their schools because of space, funding, just needing larger quantities because of class sizes and everything. So we have been able to get this rolling. This last year, since then, it has been to 43 different schools and community events such as PTO nights, back to school nights, Sumner Gives Back Day. It has been to Touch a Truck at Hendersonville Parks. So it's definitely being utilized, so we're pretty proud of that one as well. After it has been used by a school, we do try to collect some data and send a survey out to those PE teachers or whoever reserved it at the school. We have some assistant principals that have been using or reserving it from us. And we are just so glad that 92% of them are saying that their students learned a new game or did some kind of new physical activity that they wouldn't normally have access to at their school. So last with coordinated school health is we definitely could not do this without our department collaboration and our community collaboration. There's several listed here, and I'm sure we left a few out, but I definitely want to recognize our transportation team. They worked closely with us on this activity bus project, and without them moving it from location to location every week and servicing it when needed and keeping it running and so it can travel on down the road to the next location, we wouldn't be able to do this without them. We also want to thank High Point Health. They partnered with us to fund that bright and colorful bus wrap, so you definitely cannot miss it when you see it parked at a school. And then we are grateful for our collaboration with our Health Science CTE program. We are able to allow their students to come help us screen their feeder schools, their elementary, and if there's something going on at a middle school, they are able to come do some clinical hours with us. And so they help do hearing and vision screenings, and we definitely could not screen those 5,700 students without groups like them. Last week we were able to host HOSA Day. I don't know if you saw the pictures, but it's always a fun day for us. We had about 140 high school health science students come over. We had several different community healthcare providers or healthcare professionals volunteer their time to come and present their expertise and information on various healthcare fields to these students. And so it's always a great time to have those to come in, and our students learn many different areas besides just nursing. They hear from us, but it was great to have some other healthcare professionals there. With the help of all of those on this list and many others, we are Sumner ready to work on many projects that promote the health and well-being of our students with our coordinated school health department. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jennifer Donaldson. I'm one of 5 nursing supervisors for Sumner County Schools. I currently supervise the White House area schools, Madison Creek, Millersville Elementary, Beach Campus, Knoxdall Middle, and Burris Elementary. The supervisors tonight are going to discuss some program data as it relates to the nursing program. We will also discuss our acuity tool and how that is implemented each year, as well as give an overview of chronic diagnoses that have been recognized by our highly trained and experienced school nurses. The picture that you're looking at on this slide is one of 2 of the nurses at Station Camp Elementary School teaching a hand hygiene class. This is one of many, many duties that our school nurses perform daily. The Sumner County School Nursing Department has a total of 55 nurses in the school clinics every day. The National Association of School Nurses recommends a ratio of 1 nurse to every 750 students and smaller ratios for students with complex medical needs. Our current nurse to student ratio is 1 nurse for every 545 students. Last year, our nurses completed 229,686 visits in our 52 clinics. Our department also had 182 EMS calls. Each of these calls was for a student or staff member experiencing an emergency. The reason for the calls vary, but include things such as mental health emergencies, seizures, orthopedic emergencies, cardiac emergencies, etc.
My name is Meg McMahon, and I am a nursing supervisor here at Central Office, and I work with our homebound department, and I manage our sub-pool with about 16 sub-nurses. I'm going to talk about our acuity tool. This is a tool that we implemented several years ago to give a quantitative number to our complex medical procedures that our nurses perform every day. There is a survey that is sent to our nurses each semester, which adds that numerical value to their procedures, and it's helped our team understand how nurses' time is used. A few years ago, Station Camp Elementary, we knew that they were very busy, and they scored on our acuity tool a 126, where our next highest schools were half of that. So using that data, it really helped us prove that we needed to have a second nurse there for the safety of the students. Now 2 nurses remain every day at Station Camp Elementary. This acuity data has also helped us see the needs in our high schools, and we now have a float nurse that goes between a few of our high schools with lots of complex medical procedures. In healthcare, proper staffing ratios drive safe medical care, and having adequate school nursing coverage reduces chronic absenteeism, increases instructional minutes, and increases the chronic disease education that our nurses can perform every day. So students can learn self-care and be independent for caring for themselves, which is always our goal. The Tennessee State School Nurse Consultant used our acuity tool to aid in developing a similar tool for all school clinics throughout the state. And I co-authored that acuity tool along with a team of nursing supervisors from throughout Tennessee. So thank you to Lisa Herron, Dr. Langford, and of course you, the school board, for supporting the constant medical needs of our students.
Hello, my name is Emma White, and I am the nursing supervisor for the Hendersonville Peninsula Schools. I have George Whitten, Merrill Hyde, and the Liberty Creek campus. We really can't speak about health services without talking about our incredible nursing staff. We are highly experienced an all-RN team, which includes 4 nurse practitioners and 3 additional master's prepared nurses. Our nurses have years of varied experience, including but certainly not limited to adult and pediatric critical care, emergency medicine, labor and delivery, psychiatric, NICU, surgical services, etc. Every year on the Tennessee Health Services Survey, we report the number of new chronic diagnoses that resulted from the referral and assessment findings of the school nurse. Last year, 85 students received a new chronic diagnosis. Our nurses have assessed students and recognized early signs of multiple conditions. These assessments led to their physicians diagnosing them with mental health disorders, hypertension, cardiac disorders and arrhythmias, epilepsy, often their first seizure is here at school, leukemia, and lymphoma. For example, one of our nurses had concerns. She referred the student to their provider. This referral led to a diagnosis of a solid tumor cancer. So following these diagnoses, nurses collaborate with multiple departments, including our own 504 and homebound departments. They also work with the exceptional education department, the attendance department, and various local medical providers and specialists. With there being at least 1 registered nurse in every building, nurses spend more time with each student, which it allows for a more in-depth assessment and attributes to a greater nursing care. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Harrison. I am the nursing supervisor for Bethpage, the Westmoreland campus, North Sumner, and then all of Portland. And what I'd like to share with you is our core values. I know you guys have seen several slides about this, and it's something that we truly believe in here in our district. Our nurses exemplify the core values of Sumner County Schools through their unwavering commitment to student health and their well-being. They use grit. Our nurses demonstrate true grit each day through their passion, their perseverance, and their resilience. As the sole medical professionals in their schools, in their school buildings, they face complex challenges with strength and determination. Humility. Oftentimes our nurses' quiet dedication, our nursing staff manages sensitive medical situations and provides support to students and their families. Our nurses do so much, so I get a little emotional with just speaking of them because we can't really share their true greatness. So I apologize there. But their impact is often unseen, but it's always significant. They show a true growth mindset with their commitment to lifelong learning. Our nurses continually seek opportunities to grow and improve. As a leadership team, we actively support this need with providing them with opportunities to develop and grow. And then there's the mission. Our nurses are deeply aligned with the district's mission. They work tirelessly to ensure students' health concerns are addressed promptly, allowing students to remain in the classroom and fully engaged for learning. We are incredibly proud to have a team of nurses who do not only provide exceptional care, but also embody the values that drive our district forward. Thank you.
Okay, you get to see me twice. I'm going to talk about our Health Services Education Department. We are committed to increasing CPR awareness and training within our school district. We have a great team of CPR instructors that consist of 9 nurses, 3 wellness teachers, and 2 athletic trainers. We also have several high school CTE health science teachers that are certified CPR instructors as well, working with our students. In addition to CPR training, part of my role is also to oversee our school emergency teams and our AED program, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. So why is CPR training important? For every minute that CPR is delayed, the person's chance of survival decreases by 10%. If CPR is started immediately and an AED is used in sudden cardiac arrest, it can double or even triple that person's chance of survival. CPR training increases our emergency preparedness within our district, but also our community. Last school year, we began an initiative to offer more CPR training opportunities to our staff and students, and we've collaborated with many different departments within our district to make that happen. So some data from last year. My position was created this last school year. Since then, we've been able to offer more training. So we were able to train over 1,200 staff members in some form of CPR, whether training or certifying them. We offered this on PL days. We offered it after school. We even came to them. We took all of our mannequins and did it in their school buildings, working with our admin and school teams to do that. We partnered with the Office of Professional Growth to offer those professional learning hours for our certified staff. Our team of instructors provided training for our transportation department and training over 200 bus drivers last year. We train our Unity before and after care supervisors, our nutrition supervisors, and pre-K staff. As part of the Safe Stars requirement and the Smart Heart Act, we are able to not only train our coaches, but offer a 2-year certification and a more in-depth class. This is not just our faculty coaches, it's our full-time, our non-faculty, and our volunteer coaches. If they are on the bench or the sidelines, we can offer training. We also had several coaches reach out to us to train their athletic teams. So we were able to train several cross-country teams of students last year. In partnership with our school staff, our health science CTE programs, and our school nurses, we also introduced hands-only CPR to many 4th and 5th grade elementary students in relation to a learning module about the heart that they were doing. We also partnered to do social health students in middle school and several high school wellness programs. This school year, we're off to a great start. We have already trained 650 staff members. We're doing the same thing with our transportation, nutrition, pre-K, and Unity teams and our coaches. We were proud to be able to implement a Drive Day 2 CPR class that did some of our wellness and PE teachers as well. And we've also had several students trained in CPR, and we have several student groups being trained in the next coming weeks due to clinical internship for their health science classes. So I want to highlight a specific pilot program that we were able to implement this spring in partnership with Coordinated School Health and Hendersonville High School coaches Reed, Kaufman, and Averett, who are wellness teachers and PE at their schools, but also coaches. They came to us with an idea of wanting to add CPR certification to their wellness curriculum. So they're like, how do we do this? And I'm like, we can do this. So we were able to offer the American Heart Association CPR instructor course for them. We did that in December, in January last year, and then in the spring, they implemented this in their wellness classes. So any of their high school wellness students that were interested in receiving a CPR certification, they were able to do the curriculum within their class. So since beginning this pilot, they have certified over 86 of their high school wellness and health science students in their school. They were able to offer a training to several HHS staff members this summer in July, and they were able to lead the PL session on Drive Day 2 for 40 PE and wellness teachers across our district. We are grateful for their willingness to be our guinea pigs, our pilot for this program, and we can't wait to see what all they can accomplish at Hendersonville High School. Due to the success of this program, we've had several PE teachers express interest, and we have one school lined up, another high school lined up to get this done this school year. And one thing I want to note is they're not just doing their students, they are reaching out to other departments, and they've already told me they have plans with their JROTC instructors to certify those students as well this semester at HHS. Okay. So as part of our commitment to being Sumner Ready, we ensure the safety of our students, our staff, and visitors to our schools every day. Having a school emergency team in every building does that. Our school emergency teams are also called SET teams. They are staff members in our schools that volunteer to complete a specific training that's not just CPR and AED training, it's first aid, it's administering the Heimlich for somebody choking, responding to medical emergencies, giving emergency medications such as EpiPens, Narcan, glucagon for our diabetics, and even seizure medications. They work hand in hand with all of our nurses in our buildings when there is a school emergency. So I'm proud to say that we have over 325 members now. And this number is a little low from a couple of days ago, but we have 325 staff members within our district that have completed SET training and are current right now. So anytime there is an emergency, there is a SET call placed either overhead through walkie-talkies, however it is, it's school specific, but they respond not knowing what they're walking into. It could be a cardiac arrest, it could be someone having a seizure, it could be a student passing out, it just depends. But they are trained and ready to go. We do AED drills every fall semester to practice how to respond and what to do in an emergency with all of our SET teams in our schools. We also use our AED drills to evaluate our AED locations throughout our campuses in Sumner County schools. We currently have 218 AEDs throughout our district. That's in and around school buildings, that is at athletic complexes, and those are counting portable ones that our athletic trainers carry. This past year, we were also able to implement our portable AED program. Those AEDs cover our athletic teams when they're off campus or at an outdoor event where an AED might not be located. These are available for our middle and high school teams. Coaches can check them out with their school nurse, their athletic director, or their athletic trainer, and take them if they're going to a golf match at a course that may not have an AED close by. They can take a portable AED with them. So we're pretty proud of that program and being able to offer that to our athletics department. So we thank them for their partnership in doing that with us. So I would like to say thank you to the school board, to Dr. Langford, Delisa Heron, and the leadership team for recognizing the need for increasing CPR awareness in our district, and also the accessibility to the life-saving equipment that is needed in case there is a medical emergency. We unfortunately have had these cardiac arrests happen within our buildings. It's happened to students, it's happened to staff, and it's happened to fans at athletic events. The most recent emergency happened a few months ago in April of 2025, so this past spring semester. And I'm going to turn it over now to one of our nursing supervisors to recognize one of our school nurses' actions during this medical emergency. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ashley Harris. I'm the nursing supervisor for the Gallatin area schools. That does include Station Camp campus and Jack Anderson Elementary as well. Tonight I'd like to recognize Teresa Kingery. She is the registered nurse at Gallatin High School. She's been with us now for 4 years. One April morning last school year, Teresa arrived at work a little bit earlier than normal and was almost immediately alerted via the radio that there was a medical emergency occurring in her building. An employee had collapsed, was unresponsive, and did not have a pulse. Teresa promptly responded, and when she arrived on scene, she found a member of the administrative staff had the AED there and was opening the pads. She immediately applied the pads to the employee's chest and began performing chest compressions. Teresa alone performed high-quality CPR for 5 minutes, and then her SRO took over and performed 2 more minutes of CPR. During this cardiac event, the school's AED advised and delivered 3 shocks to the employee. After 7 minutes of CPR and 3 AED shocks, he was awake and talking by the time EMS arrived on scene. Due to her years of training and the emergency response efforts, Teresa saved the life of one of our Sumner County School employees that day. Many members of the response team have already previously been recognized, but tonight we want to extend our gratitude and many thanks to Teresa for her grit in handling this catastrophic episode. Well done, Teresa.
Ms. Lancaster.
Yeah, I'm sorry. To the you that. Sorry, I got a question, but nobody up there.
Sure.
Couple of things. One, first of all, if you spend any amount of time in especially elementary, I'm sure it's the same, middle and high school as well. There's nobody in a school building that works harder or is, I don't see how they keep their mind straight than a school nurse, because if you spend any amount of time, especially like say in an elementary school, it's kids coming in from every door
Absolutely.
imaginable. Where's the nurse? I need to see the nurse. I've got this. I've got to take something, But going to the CPR thing, because that's one thing that I kind of had on my mind, and then I saw about Hendersonville. I know we do, or you know, that wellness, lifetime wellness is a required course. What would it take for all of our students to eventually get to a point where CPR certification is part of that?
We have several of our health science students get CPR certification because they are typically going to do clinical internships later on, probably junior and senior year. CPR training, whether it's just learning how to do compressions only, a lot of our social health students get that in middle school. We do have some social health instructors that bring Gallatin Fire in and some other community partners to train those students. I know in 7th and 8th grade. We are working on that. That is my goal. We're trying to increase the accessibility for our students. We've done cross-country teams. I've been asked to come do teaching as a profession students at White House High School. That's a certification that they can get through their CTE track. So we're trying. That's a goal of ours.
That's what I kind of like.
Absolutely.
Like that be a goal for us as a district one day. Be every student that graduates high school here, in addition to their diploma and everything else, they have had that training, and you know it's such a potentially vital, life-saving thing.
Absolutely, I think everybody should know.
If you've got a required wellness course that you know you're taking in high school anyway, you know, and we could get those teachers certified to give the training.
We are limited by some of the requirements for that with American Heart Association, and I think American Red Cross. There's different providers for CPR training. They do have some requirements. We have been very fortunate to be able to do this through American Heart Association. Our goal at Hendersonville High School, Brandon Reed and Kelly came to us and said, we want to certify our students and we'll get them again in PE class. So if we do, wellness is typically freshmen, there's a few upperclassmen in there, but this certification is good for 2 years, and then we'll see them again maybe junior year of PE so we can renew their certification. So I would love to be able to offer this to more and more students as we continue to grow. We do have a high school that's interested that has actually a PE teacher that used to teach CPR in another state, so they seem very excited to implement this pilot there. We are doing more and more hands-only CPR in our elementary schools with our health science program and our school nurses. I know HHS just did some, I think at Nannyberry. Union Elementary did with Gallatin Health Science and their school nurse. Liberty Creek Elementary, their health science at the high school and their school nurse and PE teacher partnered to do some 4th grade students there. And so I would love to be able to offer this to more and more as we continue to grow. I think it's a great skill. I think while maybe our 1st and 2nd graders aren't strong enough to do compressions, we can teach them how to call 911, how to go get help. We can teach 4th and 5th graders more of the actual physical components of CPR, but I think there's aspects of training all of our students in some way of how to respond in an emergency. It's a great life skill. And there's a lot of statistics out there. They're going to say 40% of bystanders perform CPR, 40%. So if you're in that 60% where that people walking by you is like, oh, nope, I'm not going to respond. I would love to be able to say in Sumner County, we are putting forth all of our students able to respond in an emergency if they had to. And give them the empowerment, give them that positivity that they feel like they can do that.
Yeah, I think especially even in elementary, if you just teach them like, here's the signs of like if you know the first parts of CPR is
absolutely.
You know, also, I know we've got tons of AEDs now. Do we have AEDs on all of our school buses? Is that a thing, or is that?
We do not.
Okay, just wondering if that's. Are most of our bus drivers CPR certified?
They are not certified, but they are trained.
Yeah, they're all trained.
Okay, and maybe that's semantics, like
Well, the
Same
training we
high
do
school.
annually, the certification is good for 2 years. So we train them every year.
Every year.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Hollis?
Yeah, I learned a lot. I'm new to the school board, so it's very good learning. And it, with the SRO and the nurses, when you have kids, I have kids in middle school and high school, and it's a great feeling to drop them off and know that all the support that's there. Just a couple of questions I had, like, I love the fact that you're trying to coordinate with the CTE courses and give those kids some experience in some of these areas with vision, hearing, or whatever it may be. I'm with Mr. Lancaster. I wish there was a way we could get everybody trained in CPR, and I'm a volunteer coach, not faculty, so I had to do all the heat, concussion, CPR, and I have done the live training, the 4-hour, but there is like a 1-hour course on NFHS. It's the coaching thing that is really good, and it certifies you for a year or something. I don't know, but because a lot of these kids, like my daughter, scuba dives, and so I'm like, if you see a CPR certification, take it, because that's part of advancing. There are lifeguards. A lot of these kids do lifeguarding in the summers or whatnot. So kudos to you for that. Do you have, with the CPR and the AED, are there regular drills in the schools, like for a fire alarm? And
Every fall.
okay, excellent. And then the last question I had is kind of odd, but there's one mention of dietitian. Does dietitians, do they fall under you all, or is that a completely separate?
Completely separate from us.
Okay. Just curious.
Although we do train them.
Okay. God, thank you.
Yeah,
Good job.
thank
And
you.
congratulations for saving somebody's life back then.
It's awesome.
Mr. Evans?
Yeah, I'm not going to say specifically the school, but you did have a said team have to deal with something today. So
Every
yeah,
day.
well, I mean, but I saw it on social media, like immediately. So one, and it sounds like it went well. When things like that happen, I know. Does the set team send some type of review or some type of I know there's documentation, but does your team review those?
I'll answer that. We do an after action,
Okay.
and if there's any significant event, we'll do an after action. And usually we try to wait till the next day so everyone's adrenaline is kind of had time to settle and everybody's thoughts are clear. And sometimes, depending on the event, it's traumatic for the people involved and everyone just even that witnessed it. So we try to give it a day, and we'll meet and do after action, which is really routine for us.
Cool. Figured, but it's always good to know, and also have on camera that we actually do that. So, to speak a little bit more about that, about training versus certification. I think there's a lot of misconception about what's training versus certification. One thing that I would push for with our high school students getting certified is that that is something that prepares them if they decide to go into the workforce or college or anything post high school. That is something they can actually put on their resume, that they are certified. And something that I encourage all of our students that work for us in the Parks Department to do was because typically there is some stats that once they get certified in one thing, they're more prone to get certified in multiple. I know at Vanderbilt, our student staff, we had all of our students were certified not only lifeguarding, CPR, EpiPen, AD, and all the fun stuff. And I used to teach the courses. My certification has run out, so I can't teach them anymore. But I think that's great because that's something that separates our students on paper when they go to that next phase of life. And it may be something really small, but something they can put on paper, and it's real.
Absolutely. And it helps them with summer jobs while they're in high school, just apply, like lifeguarding, babysitting.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Now, I say this because we saw about that Greenbrier student that passed away. Mental health doesn't fall under y'all. Does that fall under y'all? No?
Not me personally.
That falls under Katie generally, but I will say that we collaborate a ton because a lot of mental health things sometimes start in the clinic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And, okay. I just really think, and I say this personally, there's just so many of those kids and families that maybe don't feel comfortable going to a church for that type of resource. I think that we can be that resource if they don't feel comfortable going somewhere else. And so I hate to read that story about somebody that's so close to us. So just think about his family today. So that's it.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. 3 parts to this. First thing, with the HHS, the coaches that reached out to you, There were 86 students
They have certified since the spring.
certified. So was that optional? Because there's more students than that in
It
the
was
PE.
optional. They are hoping to possibly make it more of, you can opt out. But they wanted to start with smaller classes as they began teaching classes and just build it up as much as they had a need for it.
And that was a pilot, and you're also doing it
We're hoping to add another high school this year.
this year.
Mhm.
And will it still be the same thing as an optional? Or
Yes, currently.
Gotcha. I came on the board in 2014. I can even remember 11 years ago how few nurses we had. Andy, do you know? I can't remember the number. But it has been the long-range vision, our goal, to get nurses in our schools. We're so grateful. And you got to put money to it. You got to budget for it. And I'm glad that we made that a priority. We're very, very grateful. It's a phenomenal presentation tonight, Miss Erin, your team. I kept hearing the word collaboration. To me, that's team. And when a team comes together and works toward a common goal, great things happen. And in your case, lives are saved. Just to be able to recognize, how many students were there that you were able to recognize, like the tumor, things with chronic diseases with children?
85.
How many?
85.
That's
This last year.
you are the ladies. Or do we have men nurses?
Not anymore. We did.
I thought we did. Was there one, two?
One.
Okay, one. You ladies, you have your eyes on these kids all the time, and you're the ones that can spot, and you observe, and you notice. That's what you're trained to do. And I know those families are so grateful to get probably early detection. So I'm not even a nurse, and I'm getting emotional. I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
Mr. King?
Yeah, I was kind of blown away by this number, 229,686 clinic visits. Can you just break that down, explain what that is? Is that, because that's like 1,000 people a day or something. That's just, what's going on with that?
Well, so that includes scheduled visits, so our diabetics, tube feeds, caths, medications, and then the emergencies, and also the stomach aches and the scrape my knees. So that's everything. I think our clinics average about 38 visits a day.
Okay.
Most doctors' offices see about 15 to 20.
Okay.
And that's in most of our clinics, it's just one nurse seeing that many. We have a few clinics that have more than one, like I mentioned, Station Care.
So that's a busy day, and
Every day is a busy
I'm sure
day.
it never gets
Busy day.
boring, but that's some hard work. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your presentation. I did want to mention that, one of the things I think interesting about your team is that every child has different needs. We started, talking about the IEPs and the 504s, and, you moved into some of the day-to-day stuff that you all deal with. But, every child's unique, whether it's a 504, an IEP, it may be an autism diagnosis, but, there are so many different levels of that and how different kids present in different ways. And so there is no cookie cutter approach to what you all do. You have to spend time with each student to understand their needs, and with the parents to understand their needs, and sometimes even help train those parents. So we truly appreciate all you do, from the day our students enter the schools until the day that they graduate. You all play a vital role in their development. So thank you very, very much. We appreciate you. All right. right, so thank you. I guess you guys are free to go if you'd like to go. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, policy 1.1021, student advisory council prior to first reading. Any comments, conversation?
This is the policy that Ms. Brady proposed to you guys a study session ago. We just worked it up and put it in the document.
All right, remember this is prior to first reading, so this is first draft. We'll have opportunity. If you have changes, feedback, we can discuss that now, or even as we get into first reading a week from Tuesday night, if you've got amendments or things like that we want to make, we'll have an opportunity to dig a little bit more into that. So, Mr. King?
Yeah, so I've got some things to pass out. I not too long ago, a few weeks ago, so since we last discussed this, I attended a TSBA training. It was the TSBA Summer Law Institute, and basically 7 hours of legal stuff, pretty exciting. I was stoked. I loved it. It was really interesting. But one of the topics that came up was new legislation, and this was a big topic. So, because that, is a new bill, it's got a lot of attention. The bill, for those in the audience that don't know, the Tennessee legislature passed a bill that requires school boards to have a policy for having a student school board member representative. I don't think you have to have one, but I think you have to have at least a policy. So that was what came up, and basically the issue is, if for an advisory council, that the problem that we're going to run into is that we cannot create a committee, an advisory committee of any kind, without it being subject to the open meetings law. And it doesn't matter if it's students or adults, if it's board formed, and it has the same authority as other board committees. And so if we're giving this council, the Student Advisory Committee, authority to make recommendations on policy and policy formation, then under Tennessee Code, that meets the definition of a governing body, just like any other committee. And so if the Student Advisory Committee is formed by the board and intends to provide recommendations on policy and or potential actions that we might take, that means it plays a role in that, then it is subject to the Open Meetings Act. And that's what this policy actually states. It says that one of the purpose of this Student Advisory Committee is to quote, provide input to the school board on policies, initiatives, and decisions that affect students. And so anyway, the Open Meetings Law requires such council or committee established by a governing body with the authority to deliberate on policy, make recommendations. It has to adhere to the requirements of the Open Meetings Law, and that includes that would require several things. Number one, adequate public notice. The meetings have to be open to the public, not just students. The public at large has to be allowed to attend. There must be a time for public comment, not just from students, but from the public. There needs to be an agenda posted at least 48 hours in advance. Minutes must be kept, and some of that's in this policy, by the way. It would mean that this Student Advisory Committee would also be subject to electronic communications rules. So if there's electronic communication, whether they have like emails set up, that's also subject to the Open Meetings Law, also known as the Sunshine Law, is another name for it. And just trying to dig through this, some of the questions I had was, what if this Student Advisory Committee, they're not making decisions, they're providing input, they're giving recommendations. several court cases kind of lays out some precedent for that, and one is number one, Dorier versus Dark. It says the Tennessee Supreme Court held that the Open Meetings Act applies to any committee created by a governing body to make decisions or recommendations on public business. So if they're going to make recommendations, they are subject to the Open Meetings Act. Johnson versus Metro Government of Nashville. They reaffirmed that committees of a governing body are subject to the act when they discuss or deliberate on public business, even if they don't make the final decision. And this, I got this from CTAS. They're saying the same thing. If the school board forms committees, such as the budget committee, facility committee, or any kind of committee, those committees fall under the opening meetings requirement whenever they deliberate on public business. Basically, if the board forms it and it deliberates or discusses policy or public business and is going to provide recommendations, it's subject to the Open Meetings Act. That previous case that I mentioned, Johnson versus the Metro Government of Nashville, in their findings, they quote, committees created by a governing body to deliberate public business are themselves governing bodies subject to the act, even when they only make recommendations and do not take final action. I've handed you guys this. This is from CTAS, by the way. It's their document on the Open Meetings Act. It's very great. It's a very, very good resource. Several things that I underlined here. You'll notice the first one on the first page. It says a governing body is defined in the statute as any public body consisting of 2 or more members with the authority to make decisions for or recommendations to a public body on policy or administration. Now you might be thinking, well, how is a student advisory council a governing body? Well, it is formed by the governing body, the school board, to provide recommendation on policy and any action we might take to influence policy decision and report back to this governing body. It therefore meets the definition. The second thing that I underlined there is the Supreme Court, Tennessee Supreme Court, created a 2-part test for determining whether an organization is subject to the Sunshine Law. One, whether its origin and authority may be traced to state, city, or county legislative action. In other words, the school board is a government authority. It's traced to legislative action. Our state law requires, has established the requirement of local LEAs. And number 2, whether its members have authority to make decisions or recommendations on policy or administration affecting the conduct of the business of the people. So my personal commentary on this, thoughts on this. If we form this, if we put this together, now, there can be a group of students that get together to form an organization, a student group, and they can talk about what we got going on. They can talk about what's on our agenda. They can talk about issues or everything that we're laying out in this current policy. They can have those discussions and then come and report to the school board. They can speak on any agenda item. But if the board forms it, then we're getting into this issue of it being subject to the Open Meetings Act. I'm almost finished. Let me just wrap this up real quick. So again, adequate public notice, open to the public, a time for public comment, and so on. All of these things would apply now, and it would subject our students to being under the jurisdiction of the Sunshine Law, which makes them liable. I don't like that idea. I don't like them being subject to the Sunshine Law because they can violate the Sunshine Law, and I don't want to put them in that position. And also, if the public is going to be coming to these meetings and the public is going to be speaking, there's some people out there that I don't really know if I want them in a public time of public commenting to some of our students. So I don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me either. I think there's there's just some things about making students adhere to sunshine laws and open meetings that I feel like we need to kind of set this one aside, maybe go back to the drawing board and maybe come up with another plan is what I believe. So anyway, that's what I had to offer on this. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's three things. Number one, this is prior to first reading. I guess four things. Number two, there is a policy that our legislature passed, and sometimes they pass policies without thinking through all the consequences, probably pretty frequently. And this is probably another one of those situations, and we deal with this all the time. So I think the way to address your questions is, number one, I think Mr. Johnson and Dr. Langford can reach out, to Mr. Lamberth and some of our other representatives and senators about their understanding of your questions. I think number two is we could look at some of the other policies that have been passed by other school boards and how that applies. And I think the third thing is that we get with Mr. Presnell, our attorney, and have him kind of dig into this a little bit and get those answers. I think we can still kind of have some conversations because, at a minimum, we still got 2 more readings. Sure. And even, if this was on the agenda for the next, voting session in a couple weeks and we passed it, it's not going into policy. We still have more time to dig into it. So I think we can continue to kind of have additional conversation we want here while we get your answers, and then as we get into the voting sessions, and it'll be back on our next study session too, we can dig into it a little bit more then, and see if we have those answers. So thank you for bringing that up.
I just thought I'd share that. It was at the TSBA training. It was a topic that came up, and I thought it was very interesting. So
awesome. Right. Thank you, Ms. Brady.
I think it's a good point. I did specifically look through this that we wrote, or that I wrote, and it is specifically input, not recommendations. And I when I was writing this, I wanted to make sure that we were hearing their voice, but not necessarily having them tell us what to do or what their recommendation was, but more what is the student voice and what's happening in our schools and what impacts might be. So, Mr. Johnson, when you reach out to Mr. Presnell, will you see if you can find out if there's a differentiation there? And then the other thing is, if we did create an open meeting, can you also help us understand what opportunity we have to continue to allow our students to operate in a way that would give them that type of civic input? I know we have plenty of youth and government groups that operate similarly throughout the county today. So if we could kind of understand that from a holistic perspective, that'd be great.
Awesome. Be happy to talk to Mr. Presnell.
Mr. Evans?
Yeah, just 2 things. I'd say, one, from a timing perspective, I would say we need to act on this pretty quickly because part of this says that we want to involve seniors, and I mean, it's middle of September. By the time we actually get through some of these readings and everything, I mean, so maybe we need to, if this passes and moves through, we really focus on juniors. Second thing, I mean, I'm pretty much on. To me, I just feel like we kind of pointed it out. Like maybe it's not us. There should be. That's what we need to ask Presnell. There's another way of who could put this together from a school board or school's perspective. Because I mean, we have student councils. It's not like our student council meetings. I mean, I was student body president. I was student council president all through high school. I never had public come to my meetings or come to ours, and I know that's not the same thing, but we were still giving input and recommendations to the school. So we were giving recommendations and input to the principal and things that happened to our students, and that was never done. So I just want to be careful about, like, we want to do things right and legal and provide our students a chance to professionally develop. This is real life experience that I would argue that the ones that are going to apply for this understand that they are signing up for they're signing up for something that's a little bit different, and they're signing up for a new set of responsibilities. I think those need to be led and coached very thoroughly and very carefully this first time around. But I don't just want to strike it down out of fear. I would argue that these students that sign up for this know what they're, to some extent, what they're signing up for. So I don't want to take away something from them out of fear.
Thank you. And I do think to your point is, and to Mr. King's point, is trying to make sure that what they're signing up for, they understand exactly what that is. And I think we've got time to get those answers. I also think that the student body inside our schools isn't a committee that's put together by the actual school board. And I think that's what Mr. King was getting to, is if we put it together, are there any legal repercussions that we have to be aware of versus the student body? And
Well, so the same deal. Where the policy that we're having to actually pass, it doesn't say that the actual school board has to put together the student activity or the student committee. That's just the way we originally wrote this the first time. So,
and I think we can get the answers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's ways we can. Yeah.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Mr. Johnson, and as Mr. Presnell, and I have not read this in full, what came out of the legislative session, the policy authorizing a student school board member was there, is what they were working toward. Public Charter 359. Pursuant to Public Chapter 359, school boards that operate at least one high school must adopt a policy authorizing a non-voting school board member to serve on the local school board, a student school board member. Then, in italics, school boards are not required to have a student school board member. And this new law does not affect districts that already have student school board members. There's our Tennessee State Legislature. So, we're not required to have a student school board member. I am in favor of an advisory council. And I think the points of, we want to make sure we're doing this to where our students aren't going to be held under the Open Records, Open Meeting Act. So however we can form that and then ask those questions. We don't have to have this, sounds like by the legislative, by law, but the advisory council, I think it's a phenomenal idea. We just want to make sure that they are kept from any legal that. So that was an excellent point.
And to that point, I think that the short answer is let's get those answers, and then we can come back and discuss that in more detail.
I thought Mr. Lancaster had a question. Okay. So one alternative plan or idea is what Wilson County does, and they have someone come from each high school every meeting and bring a report. But it's not a board formed committee. It's just that they have a policy of, they rotate. They do a rotation, and the school or the principal or whoever, they pick who's going to be the representative for that meeting that month, and then the next month it's another high school. So it's just a rotation, and they've actually been doing that for the last couple of years. And now that would not, as I understand it, implicate the Open Meetings Act, because it's not a committee, it's not a group that's deliberating. Two or more members are not, getting together. And yes, to your point about student councils, and that student councils are not formed by the governing body, and that if you, so like CTAS and the language is a governing body. That's the whole point, the whole goal on that. But that's the meaning of that language. There is it's a governing body that is creating a committee, and but I think we should just keep brainstorming and come up with like Ms. Hayes said, a way that we can have this and not have it subject to the Open Meetings Act, and I'm sure there's a way to do it. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is discussion regarding policy 4.3012 middle school athletics prior to second reading. Again, I think the only change is related to when the season starts for middle school football. Any questions, Mr. Hollis?
I have one question. I noticed under basketball it said the games will have 6-minute quarters. Seems like awfully short it's 24-minute games.
I don't have a clue. I would be happy to ask our athletic director how long
At
our
least at
middle
least
school
be
lasts.
8. I'm not saying go for an hour, but 6-minute quarters. I mean, that's we did that JV last year. JV games were 6 minutes, and 24-minute game. You might as well not even show up.
Yeah.
Well, I
don't
think
have
you've
a
got to
clue.
look
I've never
I
been
think
to
we've
middle
got to
school
look
basketball.
at Tennessee Middle School Athletic
Yeah, I think
Association.
that's
I
the-
think that they
that is middle
dictate
school.
that. Yes.
We played 8 minutes last year in middle school.
Okay.
I don't know.
JV.
I know
played 6
football is
minutes.
8 minutes. That's
I
NFHS.
just thought that was very short. I mean, so your games are 34 minutes.
So I'll check with our athletic director and make sure that doesn't need to be updated. And if it does need to be updated, 8 minutes, we'll include it in the revision for the vote.
I think Mr. Lancaster.
Is that where does it say a minimum of 6 minutes?
No, it says we'll have.
We'll have 6 minutes. Okay.
It's under D under basketball.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, next item on the agenda is a discussion regarding policy 5.307, physical assault leave prior to second reading.
So if I could just cut in, so everybody had a question about that language about it being cut for, let me see if I can get my computer to cooperate. Everybody had a question about the language about leave and it not being allowed if you're in your first 15 days of work. We researched that. That doesn't apply to us. That was placed in the law specifically for one school district that is not us. And so we struck that language from the document in front of you, and that this version without that language will be presented for your vote at the next meeting.
Mr. Lancaster?
Yeah, I think that was my comment, or the only thing I was like, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense that we were going to potentially say, well, hey, you got assaulted. You've been here for 11 months. If you'd have waited a few more weeks to get assaulted, we would have paid a little bit for it. But, anyway, I'm glad it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So thanks.
Mr. Evans?
Real quick, TMSA does follow the high school rules on this, so it is 8 minute. It's 8 minute. So we need to make sure that's changed.
Yeah, we'll fix it. We'll fix it before the vote.
I agree with that because that would be, I'm sure coaches would see that and be like, what? Low scoring games. So
awesome. Thank you. Anything else? All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I know a couple of items were removed from the study session agenda. I had one comment on one of those that I would like to state. It's about the SPED playgrounds.
Okay.
It's very brief. Would I be permitted?
Absolutely, yeah. That's fine.
So I was going to say, one of the things that I know Mr. Lancaster had put it on social media about forming the committee, and one of the what Dr. Langford wrote to us today was that adding people to the committee. So please click here to recommend a parent or community member for the team. Please make recommendations by September 15th. I personally believe that whoever is recommended, they all should be approved. That's just my opinion, and not have I don't think anybody's going to go off the rails and recommend 30 people. But I feel like if people recommend, if there's recommendations made by board members, I think they all should be accepted and approved on this initiative. That's just my opinion, and that's all I wanted to say.
Well, I think what we can do is once we get the recommendations and get that list, we can have that sent back out to the board just for review.
Well, they're meeting on the 24th. Our meeting's the 23rd. So
yeah. Well, I think once we get through the 15th, we can send. I don't think it's nothing we have to vote on to say,
Right.
hey, I think these people should do or not. But if there's anybody missing or anything like that, I think we can follow up at that point. So.
Yeah.
Ms. Hayes?
Mr. Chairman, it's the best way to make recommendations. I do have someone that reached out. Do I send it to you?
Yes. Yes.
I will. I'll send it to him. Thank
Or
you.
you can email me and I'll get it to him.
Thank you. I know he's a little smitten right now with his baby girl.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time today. Meeting is adjourned.